Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the first Virtual Urban Experience 2K20 Town Hall Series. You Speak, presented by Youth World Education Project in partnership with Maricopa Community Colleges. My name is Dwayne Bluestein, and I will be your host. Please make sure to mute yourselves. Hit mute. Everyone hit mute, please, and thank you. If you have any questions or statements, please share in the chat box, and they will be addressed during the question and answers at the end. Youth World Education Project mission: to bridge the gap between parental involvement, education, and workforce development with a system of supports that prepares youth to compete in the global economy and build social skills and self-sufficiency. Our purpose, the message of the Urban Experience 2K20 forums, is to bring awareness through education, empowerment, inspiration, with focus internationally to move towards accountable actions as a community to advocate for policy and system changes that are disproportionate for Black individuals. Today's moderator is Teen Boss, Miss Mona Dixon. She is the founder of Inspired by Mona and Team Success Academy. Our teen moderators. The panelists include Tyreek, Brooklyn, and Tyrell, who will be sharing their perspective on being Black, a teen Black today. Yay! Y'all gonna clap for yourselves, please? Yes. Audience, we do have kind of an audience out here. We got 1 or 2, 3, 4 people out here. Listen, guys, this is very, very important. This is a 2-part series, and we want each of you, 3-part series, I'm sorry, the first part is today, the next one is October 3rd, and the third will be October 17th. This is our YouTube station, and please subscribe. All you have to do is just hit the subscribe button and follow us. This is something that we do on a consistent, and we won't stop. The pandemic slowed us down, but we kept moving. So as each of you understand that this is a movement, this is a Youth World Education Project. This is not just for Arizona. This is globally. As the more that we grow together, the more we want you guys to get involved. These young individuals next to me have been with me since day one, and they won't stop. So if our youth are given that type of action, we need you to give that type of support. Once again, my name is Dwayne Bluestein, the founder of DB University, DB Productions, Road to 777, and to the young youth, because I can't call y'all that other thing, I'm Uncle D. Thank you guys so much. Youth World Education Project is here for you. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mona Dixon, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you all today. I'm excited to moderate the panel and all opportunities to hear the needs, the hopes, the fears of our young teens straight from their mouths today. So I'm super excited to be moderating this panel. I'm super excited to have these panelists on here who are absolutely amazing. And we'll just get started. And as we go along, they'll be answered, and you guys can answer in any order that you wish to as we go. And the first question that I have for you today are, what are the top issues that teens face today?
Can you hear me? Okay. Personally, I feel that the top issues teens face today is definitely their mental health and struggling with this pandemic to stay happy and stay out of that dark hole, because it can be hard when you can't see your friends because Rona and social distancing, or you can't go to school where you spent most of your life being in activities and helping friends and planning stuff. And so a lot of teens struggle just being by themselves, and their at-home environment is not necessarily always the best. It can be toxic. And so it's a really, the suicide rate has definitely increased for teens during this pandemic.
Before you go on, Brooklyn, So you talked about teen suicide and depression and different things like that. So normally, who do teens go to, or who can they go to when they're feeling down like this?
Normally, teens would go to like their counselors at school or like their therapists, but like now a lot of the offices are closed and like you can't be at school. So trying to like tell somebody your feelings over Zoom, it could be hard. And so a lot of teens aren't resorting to that. And oftentimes, like, you can go to your parents, but some may not be able to. And so they just kind of hold that in and, like, just like going to your friends. But it's different talking over the phone than talking in person.
All right, Tyreek and Tyrell, what are some top issues that you see facing teens today?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I would definitely say like one of the top issues are acceptance. A lot of the things that are on our mind is how do our peers see us, and social media definitely plays a role in that. Um, as we're doing this panel right now, there's other people like watching Netflix or doing this or doing that, but we're making these conscious decisions to make choices and changes for people around us, and so the thing that are on the teens' minds is how will our peers look at us, and so that's what's constantly in our minds, making the right decisions for our lives and our futures. So that's one of the answers I could give you.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think acceptance is huge, and I think we have so much coming at us from magazines and TV, movies, and we all try to do self comparisons. How do I compare to everybody else out there? I can tell you a story about when I was 17 years old and I went on to do this photo shoot for Essence magazine. And I remember, like, right away, they got to the computer and the editors started like moving out all these blemishes and taking out all these things that don't look so pretty, and that opened my eyes up for the first time because I was able to see like so many people look up to these images that are in the magazines, but even what's in the magazines is not truly 100% what we see. And I think it's important for young people to understand that you see all these things, but even they aren't that perfect, or even they have to be, fixed up a little bit to reach that image. So it's very important for us to always strive to be ourselves and be the best versions of ourselves, stay in
Absolutely.
our own lanes because it's open, and it's just for us. All right, last one. You want to go ahead and answer and give us a answer to what are some top issues that face teens today?
Real quick, I wanted to answer. I want to add on to the other one, but identity, because a lot of teens they don't know where they want to go, they don't know where they want to be, and a lot of teens don't have that support system at home to allow them to be who they want to be and express who they are. And I just want to say that was a great answer, acceptance. And there's a way, because I didn't hear you, is there a way you can repeat that question? Oh, okay, I thought she asked something. That's my bad. But yeah, so my bad. I just want to really elaborate on identity, that portion, because like me, I was fortunate enough to be part of YWP, and that allowed me to really understand who I am and who I'm becoming. And a lot of teens they don't have those opportunities, and that's what teens struggle these days. They don't have chances and opportunities to really become who they are, and they don't see the near future in front of them.
All right. So, do you feel that sometimes the voices of teens are silenced?
Absolutely. Um, we were talking about this earlier. Especially the black community, the children should be seen and not heard. That mentality has really played a part within us growing up and not understanding, do I have a voice? Is my voice strong enough? Is my voice important? How do I use my voice? Those type of things float in your head, and if you're not confident within yourself or you're not confident with the people around you, that tends to hold you down.
Personally, like growing up, I could always like my parents always told me that's grown folk business. And so like I've always thought that like, oh, that doesn't concern me. I'm a child. But now like being in high school and like running different clubs and stuff, I know that I have to advocate for myself if I want to see a change. And I have to learn to speak up and be confident in what I'm saying, or people are just going to look at me as a joke. Like if you go in there like all timid and shy, they're just going to be like, what what is she doing? And so yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. I remember being told those same things, like you don't speak unless you're spoken to, kind of a thing. And for the parents who are listening out there, this can have a negative impact on the teens as well. And I would say that because say they're living in your house until they're 18 years old and you've been silencing them this whole time. And then now they're outside of your house and now they're out there in the world and they're at college or they're at their first job and they don't speak up and they don't ask questions and they don't question authority or they don't, ask for that raise that they deserve when the time comes because they were too busy being silenced their entire lives. And that just creates this ripple effect that goes on for the rest of their lives until it's corrected or somebody comes into their lives and tells them that they need to speak up and that they need to advocate for themselves. So I hope that you parents hear that and take that for what it's worth and try to figure out a balance between obviously still being respected, but also giving your children a voice so that when they go out in the world, they know how to express themselves and express themselves respectfully and appropriately as well. So another question that I have for you all, have you ever witnessed racial discrimination or have you ever been discriminated against yourselves? Maybe going into a store and being watched, or anything like that?
Yes, definitely. Um, Multiple times when we're just like walking through the malls with our friends, we're followed around by store clerks and just like, oh, do you need anything? Can I help you buy anything? And we're like, no, we're just looking around, just window shopping, if you will. And so they were like, okay, no problem. And so then we can see them in the distance just watching us or like awkwardly like folding clothes, just like staring at us. And like we can see you in the corner of our eye, we know what you're doing. And so it makes us feel weird. It's like, I know I'm not stealing anything, but it makes me feel like I gotta overly express that I'm not stealing anything. Or like if I'm looking at something, they'd be like, oh, that's expensive, or it's this price. Like, I have the money in my pocket. I know I'm just looking at it. And so it's like overly watching us, and it's awkward. It's weird, and we shouldn't have to feel that way.
As a young black teen, I wear my hair in braids. I have eyelashes. I wear my big hoops when I want to go out. I have lip gloss. And oftentimes, like, they look at me and they see my braids, my hoops, and my eyelashes and think, oh, she's ghetto. Or, oh, she's going to be loud. Oh, she's going to do this and that because just what they think that I represent by expressing myself. And so, like you were saying, when I go into a store, I have, like, you have to make it known that you're not stealing, but I'm not stealing. Like, what am I going to steal for? And it's just like they already have that mentality and that they just think, oh, okay, I've seen you before, then that's what you're going to do.
One of my early experiences with discrimination or racism is in my early years. We used to live all the way in Kentucky, and it was a real southern area. And I was around 10-ish, around that age. And I was just walking in my neighborhood, and these neighbors were looking at me and calling me names I'd never heard in person. I've never heard any of these things, except in documentaries that my parents used to make us watch. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, this really happens. Little kids are really having experiences. I had to experience this at 10, 12 years old. Like, it's a problem that kids have to deal with these such things at a young age. And me at that young age, I was only thinking that only happens in documentaries. That happened such a long time ago. That's not a real issue anymore. But now, thinking that's my first issue, and now we have that still going on today. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you just said. One thing that I always try to put out there is because a lot of people they think either racism doesn't exist or discrimination doesn't exist, and I always try to say like just because something doesn't happen to you or you haven't experienced it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't exist, right? Because other people are experiencing it. Maybe it's your friend, maybe it's a family member or something like that. I can go back to a time where I had my first job and I had money and I went to Scottsdale Mall in Arizona, and I remember walking in there into a very, expensive store, and I was looking for a gift for my grandma because I had money from not only my grandpa but money that I saved up as well. And as soon as I walked in the store, the lady was like, "We don't have layaway here." And I'm like, "What?" Like, first of all, I've never even used layaway in my life, but I saved up for this, and I came in here and I said, I didn't need it, but that's okay. Thank you for your help. And I just walked out and I went to another store. But that was one of my first experiences of, discrimination. And it really, really hurt me, but it probably made me feel good when I walked by with what I wanted and she just saw me with this other expensive bag because I didn't spend it at her store because of what she did to me. So that definitely hurt. It definitely puts a black mark on your experiences going forward in life. Brooklyn, before I get to another question, I wanted to go to what you were talking about. You were talking about your hair being a certain way and in braids. And I know that we've seen over the media plenty of times of how these kids playing sports, they got like dreads or they got braids, or even influential figures in the corporate space. They wear their afros out and they're being told that they need to cut their hair to get a promotion or to stay on the team or to play in that match or to play in that basketball game. How does that make you feel that they're telling you to change your natural appearance or just a basic hairstyle in order to, be normal with everybody else and be able to compete or move forward in life? Like you have to be someone else in order to, be qualified for whatever it is you're going for.
I honestly hate that because they're basically asking you to take away your culture, your history, your identity, just so you can please what they view as normal or acceptable. And like in the workplace, you can't wear your natural hair. And like now it's becoming more acceptable and that's good, but it's still like in certain jobs, you have to like wear your hair straight or you have to look like what they perceive as the right. And that is so frustrating because it's like my hair can't be straight all the time. That's damaging me. Like that's taking away my personality, my individuality, and just I feel like those those rules and everything are influencing younger children now. Like growing up, I've always, oh, let me wear my hair straight. Let me just slick it back because it's going to be in somebody's way or it's too big or it's going to be a struggle for somebody else. And so now I've really realized, like, let me wear my hair how I want to. Like, I don't care if I, yeah. it's,
Well, I definitely wanted to say that your black is beautiful and your hair is beautiful. So continue to wear it any way that you want to wear your hair to express yourself. Did you have a answer for that as well? I saw you getting ready to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I just wanted to bounce on that because it's. I feel like it's like inappropriate to strip someone from their culture. It's because we had like us as black people, we had to form our own culture in America. So it's like a lot of black people itself are like really deep and rooted in our culture, and we use our hair to express ourselves. So if I want to wear my hair in locks and she wants to wear her hair in braids, how could you say that's distracting? How could you say that's not appropriate in school or in business or in things like that? So it's just, I feel like it's like out of pocket to tell somebody to wear their hair a certain way. And a lot of talks going around on social media saying like, oh well, black people wear their hair in like straighten their hair and stuff like that. So isn't that cultural appropriation? No, black women were told to straighten their hair. Black women were told that their hair natural was untamed and was wild, and they had to straighten their hair. There's a difference. They weren't allowed to wear their hair the way that they needed to or they wanted to. So I think now it's really great that people are coming out and saying, no, this is not right, and I'm going to wear my hair the way I want to wear it. And young black women are growing up to say, okay, this is my natural hair. I don't need to damage or straighten my hair to appease to other people, and I can be beautiful. So.
Yes. All right. So we have a question from our listeners, and that is, what kind of topics should you express your voice on, or what topics should you use your voice for?
For me, one of the main topics I really stress is like women's rights, and like as a black woman, we were the last to vote, and so now we're always seen as like we're still put down more than other women, and so I really stress like kind of breaking down those stereotypes and using my voice to really combat that.
Mine would be, how can we unify our black community more? How can we take all the different organizations that we have scattered around Arizona or just everywhere and just unify it? We don't need to have competitions anymore. We don't need to, oh, my organization is bigger than yours has fewer people. We don't need that. So if we can have that conversation, that serious conversation of how we can unify that, that would be a great conversation to have.
And I kind of see that question as like all inclusive. So this pertains to anybody listening. Like, just your voice is so powerful, you can use it in different topics, anything that pertains to you, even if it's a topic that doesn't pertain to you. If you are a white person, you see that there's black situations going on and that you know that like this is wrong, take a stand, talk about it. If you're black and you see someone who's getting bullied or blah, 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 like no matter what the race is, you can still talk about that. You don't have to be one race or one category. You can be straight talking about LGBT rights and stuff like that. Everybody has a voice that we need to use, and we are all powerful, so.
At the end of the day, we're all human. So regardless of where you are, who you are, it doesn't matter. If you see somebody struggling or you see somebody going through a situation or a problem, help them. Really need to have that serious topic. We really need to have that serious talk with each other, like, why aren't we treating each other as equals? Why aren't we treating each other as humans?
So I definitely was going to ask you, do you feel as though you have a voice? And as we can see, you guys all feel as though you do have a voice. And as you can see with my shirt, it says your voice matters. And I want you guys to always remember that going forward, no matter how many times people try to shut you up or tell you you're too young to have any thoughts on something, use your voice. And especially when you're old enough to vote, as 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, start voting as soon as you can. But how can you express yourself? That's one way, is through voting. You can talk all day, but what are ways that you can express yourself? Is it talking with your friends, talking with your parents, joining clubs, putting on events? What are different ways that you and other teens can express yourself in these different matters that are important to you?
I just say get involved. Join the movement, join the protest, join clubs, everything that you just listed. For me, I struggled with understanding my voice and understanding how to use my voice. And now that I feel like I'm a young adult, I feel like now's the time where I can just express myself full on, head on. Like, I joined protests, joined clubs, joined organizations to really get messages heard, to really help somebody else who was struggling with what I was struggling with. That's how I express myself, just getting involved.
And my thing is, like, we grew up learning about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King's biggest thing was kids and children, they have the strongest voice, and they're the most powerful, and they can be the most persuasive. That's how I still feel that way. I feel like we have phones at our fingertips. We have Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. We have all these things, and we can just keep the conversations rolling. And that's very powerful, because anything that we feel in our minds, we can just type it out, and millions of other people can feel the same exact way, and that's how we get change started.
But I just wanted to add on to that. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to have Malcolm X's and Martin Luther King's. We need more of that. But if we have a whole generation of leaders, there's nothing that they can do. There's nothing. If we all preach positivity and all preach change and all preach unity and togetherness, then there's nothing else left. There's nothing but happiness and nothing left but change to happen.
Their ideas are, yes, you have to like educate your peers and everything, but I feel like the conversation needs to start at home, because coming from a mixed race household, like my parents don't often experience the same like discriminations I face, and so educating them on that as well as my views and how it's impacting me has changed our family dynamic like so much, like because they could never understand because it hasn't happened to them. So educating your parents, educating your grandparents, because they lived through a whole different time, and so that, for me, that's where the conversation needs to start, is at home.
Can I add something to that? 'Cause that's a strong point. If there's like any parents listening, just know that like, because one of the things that like really goes into our heads is that we feel like our parents don't listen to us, and it makes it hard for us to talk to our parents. So just know that if there's something going on in our minds that we need to speak to you, don't push it away. Don't say like, oh, you're in an adult's place. Stay in a child's place, because that's the thing that stays with us. Listen to how we feel and like the things that goes on in our life, so we can be comfortable talking to you, and it builds and strengthens that relationship.
It's all about breaking those generational curses, because struggle is passed down from generation to generation. So we don't post blame onto the parents, but it is your opportunity, it is your job, it is your duty to break that cycle, so we can break that cycle. And so don't wait till it's too late until we feel like it is a burden on us to break those cycles.
Yeah, so we have some more questions from our viewers. And how are you using your voice in your everyday life? And are you ever in fear of using your voice?
I would say no. I'm not fearful of using my voice, and I'm using my voice every day by knowing that I have an image that I want to show to the world. I know that anything that I do can taint my image. If I hang out with the wrong crowd, then and if I get messed up in this one bad situation, one bad choice can alter my whole life. So you gotta really put that mindset in like, where do I want to be? How do I want people to see me? And so I'm not saying to change yourself and change your appearance for the world, but just be mindful of the choices that you're making. And just that's how you can use your voice, by setting a label for yourself, setting like an example, thank you, an example for your life, a destination for yourself, and just make the choices to get to your set destination.
I use my voice to educate others that may not have the ability, like, not everybody can just go on the internet, look up, or read a book, or, so I feel like me, that's how I use my voice, is educating others, but also listening to them. Because there's a different side to each story, and so you have to listen to truly understand. And I'm not afraid to use my voice. Like, I've came to, like, I used to be afraid, I used to be shy, I used to like, okay, let me just listen. But now, using my voice has definitely gave me more opportunities, more insight to so many different things. So use your voice. Don't be afraid to go out and try different things and like.
Um, for me, I'll answer that. Fear plays a part when you're using your voice, especially with what's going on right now, because different people have views on protesters and what you support. And so, as I was protesting, my face was all over my Instagram page, showing that I was in part of protest, those that were involved. And what I like to say is, it's okay to be fearful. Just don't let that hound you. Don't let that take a hold of you. Don't let that grip your voice, because that's what they want. They don't want you to use your voice for positivity. They don't want you to use your voice to spread your message. That's why so many people are afraid to use their voice, because they've been told not to use it. And they get feared that, oh, somebody might harm me because what I have to say. They might harm me because my voice is different from other people's views. Don't listen to that. Listen to the voice that's inside of you. If you have a message, let it out. God gave us all a voice for a reason. We need to use them.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And one of the things that I said is the easiest way to use your voice is by voting. So, how important is it for teens to vote as soon as they turn 18 years old and to exercise that right?
It is so important to vote. Like, yes, it's important to vote for the president, but you have to vote within your own community. If you want to see change, like in your own community, you have to vote for the mayor. You have to vote just what people consider like the little elections. You have to vote because those people go to Congress and make the big laws and change. We can't allow the same people that are running the government now to keep voting in those same people. It's just a vicious cycle that we as teens and we as young adults can change by voting.
You know how like when you make a mistake and it's like a little mistake, but it has a big reaction? That's what you have to look at with our elections, especially locally. Little change make a big outcome. Little votes make a big decision and later to come. Like if you vote for a mayor, later on you're gonna see different changes that you want to see. But if you don't vote, you forget to vote, the same people are gonna keep on voting the same people in. And it's gonna be a vicious cycle that you can't get out of. If you don't use your voice, then you can't complain about it later.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, what kind of conversations do your parents have with you revolving around race and things that are happening?
Well, I just started driving recently, so we always have to talk about like be safe and like know that the skin color is altered and like how people view you and stuff like that. But the conversation kind of shifted a little bit. Now it's my mom and dad saying, "Get home safely. No matter what happens, get home safely. If an officer pulls you over, make sure you unbuckle your seatbelt immediately. Make sure you pull out your cell phone, start recording. Immediately take out your wallet and just be ready. Don't make the officer feel like he has a reason of suspension. Don't make them fear you." And it's sad to say, it's sad to like have to say this out loud and to the people listening that we have to act a certain way. We have to be polite to the officer so I can live. But it's definitely a situation that we have to be informed about. So that's kind of the conversation that's been shifted as I get older.
So for me, like I always said, I came from like a mixed race household. So like growing up, we never really like me and my sister are the only black girls in our family. We're the only person of color in our family. And so growing up, we were just like, okay, like this is how it is. But now we're really like seeing like, oh, I have a whole nother culture behind me. I have a whole piece of identity that I was missing all my life. And so now we've really started to talk about, like you had said, like I need to do certain things to make sure I could get home. Not necessarily with the police, but in certain neighborhoods, in certain stores. And so it's like that shift has really come into our family because like we never had to deal with that before. And so now like as we've got older, it's definitely been more prominent and it's a bigger conversation within our house.
Growing up, we all had that talk with our families and our parents, but growing up, my dad, he took it to an extreme. He would make us watch reruns of documentaries after documentaries after documentaries. He'd give us books to read and book reports. Every Black History Month will be, okay, you read this person, all right, now read about it. All right, now write about it. Now talk about it. And I'm like, why are we doing homework? I'm at home. Why am I doing this? But it was important. But at home, me and Tariq, we would try to hide the book, so he didn't give us a book report. But growing up, I appreciated those things because now I'm able to talk about it. I'm able to really express, wow, I know my history because of what he did. Because I didn't like what he was what he was giving us to do, boring work, but it was powerful information. And that's something that I'll pass on to my kids. That same way of teaching, that's necessary. Every household should be doing things like that.
And I feel like now I really like surrounded myself like with YWEP and like BSU because like I missed that growing up. I didn't have that information. I didn't have that culture behind me or even just like being informed about it. I learned what they taught me in school. And we all know that's not all of it. And so that's the other thing is really like educate yourself on the past and just know because they don't always teach you everything.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important for parents to continue to teach history to their children because more and more it's getting deleted from history books, or it's very selective. So I could actually commend your dad for doing that to you, because you're very aware of what has happened in the past and how you can make a difference in the future. So we have another question from the audience, and it says, with everything going on in the world, how do you stay encouraged to continue to use your voice?
Was that like our parents? Like, how do our parents encourage us?
No, just in general. How do you stay encouraged? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. You guys talked about the protests and how people are trying to put fear in you, or they want that fear to stop you from using your voice. So, despite that, how do you stay encouraged to? I'm just going to continue to use my voice despite that fear, because it's easier. We always say, like, don't let the fear stop you, but that's easier said than done. So, how do you really do that? How do you stay encouraged to do that?
So for me, it's like it took a minute for me to be able like to be open. Like doing this is a lot. I like have terrible stage fright, and so someone said this to me. It's like it's not me speaking for me. It's me speaking for other people. And so instead of me thinking, oh, I'm nervous speaking in front of all these people, just know that I have a powerful message behind my words. And so that's what kind of encourages me, because I'm speaking for the people who can't. I'm speaking for the people who are afraid to. I'm speaking for the people who are too like yeah afraid, just shy, and don't have the resources or the knowledge to speak, but have the passion behind it. And yeah, that's
I just want to express it is great to have a strong support system around you. Just these past couple weeks and this past month, I got very discouraged looking around what's going on in the world, and I felt like I was small. I couldn't create the change that I wanted to. I'm just one person. And so that really got in my head, and it made me like stop. I stopped posting and stopped talking about it, because I was like, nothing that I'm going to do is going to be able to change anything that's going on in the world. The world is too big for me. My voice isn't strong enough for that. But this organization that I'm a part of, I have our advisor, Miss T. Where I was talking to her, I was telling her what's going on, and I was just telling her, like, the world is just too crazy, and it just got in my head. And she just said, it's okay, breathe, we understand. Things happen. You just have to push past that. Trust yourself. Be honest with yourself. Speak your truth. Be you. Be real. And just like, as long as I'm honest with myself and I'm honest with people I'm talking to and using my voice and shining my light in a positive direction, small change make big reactions.
Going off of what you said, I encourage myself like, if I help one person, if I can encourage one person or educate one person a day, that's enough to think about it. Like, small things matter. A whole bunch of small things can lead up to one big change, and that's what we're going for. Nothing's going to change overnight, and you have to keep that in your mind. But I feel like I encourage myself, like, would I want to raise another generation in the world today? No, I've lived through it. I don't want other people to have to live through it. And so that's how I also encourage myself, like, we need to make this change or it's just going to keep going and keep going.
Yeah, so there's two things that you talked about that I wanted to expand upon. And one that was definitely the voting, right? And how important it is to vote locally, which impacts us way more than the presidential election. So definitely take that from our young people from today, is definitely vote locally, learn who's on your ballots, learn who's out there, learn who's representing you as a people. And going along with voting, I just have to plug in that you have to complete your census. Arizona alone has about 80% of the households reported. So make sure that you get yourself counted, because once again, that's another way that you're using your voice. They know that you're there. They know that you're out there, and that they have to support you as a community, because you are the community. You are a part of that community. And then there was another thing that you had talked about, was your parents having these discussions with you. And I remember having a conversation with a lady, and she said, I don't think that parents should tell kids, or put this fear into their kids about the police, or talk to them about what to do, because then they're afraid of the police and things like this. But I think it's because, and I just have to go out on a limb, is because she doesn't have to have these conversations with her kids. And it feels like we have to, because if we don't and you get put in a situation and you're not ready for it, then you end up another person possibly that we put on our shirts, right? And a lot of people, I think, say, well, that's just one person, or that just happened this one time. And I say, well, I would not want my family member or me or somebody close to me to be that one person, right? It only takes one person for you to hurt, for you to grieve because something happened to them, because you decided you didn't want to have a conversation with the kids. And it's very sad, because it's one of those things that you don't want to have to do, right? But I'm going to do it until I don't have to do it anymore, right? It's one of those things where you don't want to have to say Black Lives Matter, but I'm going to say that until I don't have to say it anymore, right? So it's definitely very, very important to have those conversations. I remember seeing a very, alarming and sad video of a kid, it was a little African American kid outside shooting basketball hoops, and the police officer rode by and he went and hid behind the truck. And then when the police officer left, he came back out and started shooting hoops again. And he looked very, very young. So that was, very alarming and very sad to see. But that's something that some cultures have to do and have to address over other cultures. And it's very, very unfortunate. One question that I wanted to get to was, how does social media influence these racial tensions?
How does social media influence the racial tensions? Without social media, I feel like we couldn't connect like we do now. I feel like just going off like the protest, I can contact somebody all the way across the state and say, hey, we got this going on. We have this. Or they're posting and I'm seeing it so I can be involved. It helps everybody to be connected, and it helps just like spread awareness on what the movement Black Lives Matter. It helps spread the awareness. It helps showing what's going on in the real world, because America's not going to show the real news. They're just not. They're not. They fix the news and they fix what you see so it looks nice. It looks pretty. It looks clean for everyone to see. But real people are taking real videos of real world and showing it to people so we can actually get an idea. Oh wow, it's crazy out there.
And bouncing off of that, there's like a positive way and then also a negative way like the media can influence us. Right now, there's people divided, Republicans and Democrats. The Democrats are saying, oh, the Republicans are bad, Donald Trump is bad, blah, 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 blah. The Republicans are saying, Democrats are bad, oh, Biden's bad, it's terrible. And we're just all divided because one side believes one way and another side believes the other way. And we can't walk away with knowing, okay, we're just people. We can't say, oh, I could be friends with a Republican or I could be friends with a Democrat. The media splits us up and divides us between our two viewpoints. And there's different media channels like Fox News or CNN showing different ways like how the news is happening around us. Like there's a protest going on, and we saw firsthand. There's a protest, and he was at it, and the media only the cameras only came on when the police came. There wasn't any recordings of the people saying poems or walking peacefully or being all calm. They only showed when the police came and just deterred everybody. So that's all the people see. When the people don't go to the protest physically, all they see when they're watching the screen, watching the news, is the bad parts, the police and the people running away and the people throwing stuff and the people getting upset. And they see the retaliation from the protesters and the police just going back and forth. And so we're just all divided because of how the news portrays what's going on in the world around us. And once we get that figured out, once the news is like, okay, we can do this peace. I don't know what the answer is, but once we can figure out a way to show the news the correct way and actually what's happening in the world instead of tainting it to make it look popular or get the views up, then we'll be a much happier place.
Like both of them are saying, like, yes, it unifies us, but it divides us. The other thing is, like, anybody could post anything on social media, and so oftentimes that's bad because they put false information, or the facts aren't always correct, or they do it, like you're saying, it's very biased. And so that's one thing, it negatively impacts us because a lot of people just, oh, I seen this on Twitter, so it must be true. And so we have to learn to look beyond that and not just believe the first post we see saying that this person did this and no, 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 no. We have to know the facts. We can't just believe everything we're seeing because it's not always true.
And I'd like to bounce off a little bit what Tariq said. He said, but the news only portraying the bad that happens after like a protest. But one thing that Martin Luther King did when he protested and he gathered his followers to march to the streets and protested, he made sure everyone did it peacefully, one accord. Make sure we all did it unified. Make sure that you're not destroying anything, make sure you're not being destructive, make sure you come here for a set goal or get out. Because that way, the only thing that can relate is, oh, they're doing it peacefully. The only thing that they can show is, oh, it's peaceful. But if there are negative parts, of course they're only going to look at that. But if we only do it peacefully and we only show that we're doing this for a reason, this is the reason why we're doing it, that's the only message that they can portray.
And like what you said, social media definitely like brings down a lot of protests and a lot of different organizations because they only show the bad. And so that has hindered like a lot of progress because people are like, oh, you guys were looting, so it's all bad. Well, no, that's only a select few, and you didn't see the rest. And so that definitely like is a negative impact, is just showing the bad.
And there's a lot of people saying that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. And they don't even say Black Lives Matter, they say BLM. They shorten it because they don't want to say Black Lives Matter. So they said the BLM movement is just a terrorist organization because they only see the looting, the rioting, and the angry parts of it. And they don't see the peaceful side. They don't see the people marching and holding up signs and stuff like that. And they just associate one's belief with the whole movement. It's not. Black Lives Matter is a saying. Black Lives Matter is what we believe. Black Lives Matter is what we scream. I can believe in protesting peacefully. He can believe in it rioting and looting. And I'm not the one to say which one is right and which one is wrong. Because the only way we got civil rights is because we had a Malcolm X and a Martin Luther King. We had a Malcolm X because Malcolm X was tired of doing the peaceful things in the peaceful ways. And we had both. We had two. And so you can't say that the whole organization, the whole movement is a terrorist organization, because that's just not true and that's false, and that's what the media is portraying.
I just want to say I can kind of see why people don't want to support the movement Black Lives Matter. But if you can't support the idea that Black Lives Matter, if you can't even fathom that concept, then we can't have a conversation. If you can't think and look at my life that my life matters, then that's a problem. Creating a whole different movement just to counter Black Lives Matter is a problem within itself. I understand Blue Lives Matter. Cops' lives matters. We have good cops and bad cops. But blue is not a life. That is not a skin color. You can take that uniform off and put a whole new other one on. I can't take this skin off. I can't replace this skin with something different and say, oh, I don't want to be discriminated anymore. Let me change my color. You can take that off. What I'm just saying is, just because you see different things going around the world, just because you see people affiliated with Black Lives Matter, doesn't mean you can't understand the concept that our lives do matter and our lives are in danger. We also matter.
Yeah, I want to type on that what he just said, just short, because yes, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. I agree with that. When people say all lives matter, you're right. Okay, so then can you say Black Lives Matter? Because if you say all lives matter, then you're also saying Black Lives Matter. Our movement is not Black only lives matter. Like, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying that we're included too. We're saying our lives are just as important as yours. And so fight with us instead of fighting against us, because you're just proving our point. You can't, you're just...
But we also have to go even further, because we have to say all Black lives matter. Even deeper than that, because within our own community, we discriminate against others. We say, oh, you're wrong for that. And so we have to, Black lives matter, all Black lives matter. Everybody matters. Like, we're all human, and that's what I don't understand with people is like, oh, all lives matter. So why aren't you outraged that Black lives are being killed? Why aren't you outraged that there are Hispanics in the camps? So if all lives matter, then show it. Do something about it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one thing to use words. It's another thing to use actions and to stand behind it. There's so many things that you guys just said that you definitely got to touch on. I mean, me personally, I'm a firm believer of there not being political parties because I feel like it's divisive in itself. You got Republicans, you got Democrats, so automatically, going forward, because so many people think that you either got to be on one side or the other. You either got to be Blue Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter. And it's like, no, you can care about the lives of officers and care about Black people as well. So we definitely got to get to that and stop pitting each other against each other. And that goes into, the social media and the news. It does all have an obligation to do what is right. I feel like we all have an obligation to put out the truth as much as possible. What you were saying, Brooklyn, was very important because you said we got to look at the facts. We got to look at that. Like, we can't just continue to push out information as soon as we get it, because then we spread bad things, we spread hate, we spread lies, and that doesn't do anything but add fuel definitely to the fire. So you guys touched on some really, really great points there for everybody. And I'm so proud to just be here with you all and to be learning with you as well. One thing that I definitely wanted to touch on is obviously COVID is happening and it's impacting people all over the world, especially here in the United States, though. But Brooklyn, you're a senior in high school. Tyreek and Tyrell, you're freshmen in college. How is COVID impacting your life as a student?
So, like, definitely off the bat, my senior year has been completely different than what I could have ever imagined. I thought I would go in, see my friends. Like, this is the last year. I've worked so hard getting up until this point for it to be taken from me. Like, we can't even do, like, we would do a senior sunrise and just bring our class together for our last year. And we can't even do that because we have to social distance. Everybody has to wear a mask. It's too many people. And so that, just not being able to do all the fun activities and become one with my class for the last time is frustrating. And also, like, with academics, like, half of my class still hasn't taken the SAT. And it's like, that's very important for college, which is the next step. That could give people so many scholarships, so much aid, and just, it keeps getting canceled. So it's like, okay, so I'm kind of at like a stopping point because I don't know what to do. And it's just like, where do I go from here with Rona and like just all this other stuff?
And for me, I went into my senior year, like we were class of 2020, and it was just totally heartbreaking. Going into the senior year was like all exciting, all the enjoy, like all of our hard work, 12 years of schooling and stuff like that. I set up my senior year to be easy, taking all the classes that I wanted, the electives that I wanted, and just walking through school, just knowing that graduation is 3 months away. Graduation is so close. Having all this like enjoyment, getting ready for my life. But now it's just like we went to spring break, not knowing that was going to be the last time we saw most of our friends. We didn't even get to say goodbye to most of the people that we wanted to. We didn't get to say goodbye to our teachers. We didn't get to say goodbye to the clubs that we were a part of for most of our high school career. And for me, it was like, and for me and my brother, that was like our first time we went to a school for all 4 years. We've been moving around a lot. We moved across state. So this was the first school where I was like, finally, we got to stay all 4 years. And then right at the last little bit, we had like 2 months left, it was taken away from us. And so it feels like we're left on a cliffhanger. It feels like I didn't get to properly say goodbye. I didn't get to do the last things I wanted to do. And it just sucks. But on the bright side, I got to know that I'm not the only one who's feeling that way. In the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm all alone. We're the only ones feeling this. But then I looked out, there's people in college graduating. There's people across the state graduating. There's people across the country graduating all around the world. And so it's not just me, it's everyone. And to know that everybody's going through the same thing together, it kind of helped a bit.
Kind of going back to what I was saying, like, it feels like even if we do go back to school, it's never going to be the same. And that last day before spring break, that's the only normal day of school we'll ever have again. Like, who's going to pick up papers because that's Rona? You have to sit 6 feet apart because that's Rona, and just it's so many different aspects and elements that go into deciding, like, can we even go back to school? What is that gonna look like? How is it gonna happen? How are we gonna be safe? And so it's just so many things that just clouds your mind, and it can get depressing at times. Like, I feel alone, like, where's my senior year? What? And teachers and admin can only do so much. Like,
I just feel bad for my little brother because he's his freshman year and he's in high school now, and it's just a horrible way to experience the first year of high school. He's not really taking the classes seriously because they're all online, so he can't really focus like he should be, falling asleep. Like, I do my best to try to wake him up and try to keep him up and try to keep him like active. Like, you gotta, this is important. This is a very important year. You gotta make sure that you pass all these classes, make sure you're doing what you need to do. And he's just like, it's just frustrating. All your classes are like in front of you, but it's hard to navigate. How do I turn in my classes? How do I submit my assignments? What am I missing? You don't know what you don't know, so it's harder to ask questions through a chat. You're typing in your answers and you don't even, you're typing in your questions and you don't even know what to ask. And so I understand that frustration that the students are feeling because I'm witnessing it firsthand.
Yeah, see, so there's a lot of, things that come with this. And I actually, it's very saddening to know that during these times you're going through COVID and then you have protests and it's all these things happening just based on the color of your skin, right? Two things that you can't change, so much so. And it's just all coming at you. So I think it's important for people to understand what you guys are going through as youth, so that they can be there as much as possible. And yes, there's been a lot of bad things that have come with these times and with COVID. And one thing I want to tell you all is that's why it's very, very important, I believe, to live every day like it's your last, right? Because we see a lot of people who leave us, and we think it's too soon. You got people like Chadwick Boseman, who's very, very young, right? And we and we have to know that, like, things can change, the world changes, things happen. So that's why every day, live it to the fullest. Do everything you can in that day and leave nothing on the table, and leave no regrets behind. For me, for example, COVID, stopped all my speaking engagements in person, and it was a bummer, and it sucked, right? But then you always got to think, okay, when there's negatives, there's positives around too, right? So I'm in my doctoral program, and COVID has kind of slowed the world down, and it's allowing me to focus on my dissertation. So that's a blessing for me during this time to get focused on what I want to get focused on. So for you all, what are some positives that may have come out of this happening, or it slowing down for you?
I'd say one of the positive things is I formed a new friend group, and we kind of got like closer in bonds, like doing Google Meets and just like virtual hangouts and stuff like that. Or like we'd like go outside, but like, we'd be like social distance, but like we'd just be there for each other. And it was when school was out, there was nothing to do really. We had a little bit of schoolwork, but nothing. We had a whole day of just one thing that I could take away. It felt like it was a bad thing, but I came out as a good person. I came out with like knowing new people and just becoming a better person with like myself and with the protests and stuff like that, and just using my voice and just trying to every day to stay positive and just trying to find the positive in everything.
so like in school, I was always involved in like so many clubs, and I took honors classes in AP. So I'd always just be tired and just so busy. And so now, like during this pandemic, like not having to well, you go to school, but you don't go to school. And so like it's really like slowed my life down, how you were saying. So I got to like do more self-care. Like I go hiking now. I never went hiking before. Like I gotta find I bake more, like just being able to do all that stuff that I was missing. So I definitely feel like I get happier, and like I've blossomed more because I am paying attention to like my body, and like, okay, yeah, I actually need to get sleep. I can't run off of 3 hours of sleep and a coffee. Like I've definitely learned that, and it's actually allowed me to like spend more time with my grandma, because like we all know, like, you never know what could happen. And so just being on those Zoom calls with her because Rona, but it just allows me to, like, that connection and making those memories.
I just like how we're all at home and we're not doing anything. So when the protests came up and like when George Floyd happened, when his life was taken, everybody's seen it. The whole America's seen it. And we all rose up and we started protesting. And doing nothing but sitting at home, there's the only thing that you can do is just turn on the TV and you see us. And when you're on your phones, you hear us. And when you see us marching on the streets, you're going to feel us. And so just being able to see that happening and see, oh, nobody, you're not doing anything at home, but watching us protest and you actually feeling us for the first time. It allowed the coronavirus, it allowed the message to get spread across the whole world. It gained the whole world's attention simultaneously. That's one of the bright sides. I don't know, like it caught attention easier because nobody was distracted with different things going on in their lives. They weren't distracted with work, distracted with different things. Oh, what's this celebrity doing? No, we're all going through the same thing. And so one powerful attention grabber got everybody's attention and everybody on board. I think that was very moving.
The timing, right? Yeah, in that. And I personally think that this time has taught people to appreciate the little things in life, specifically like family, health, being kind to each other, and it's just teaching us all those little things and how to be resilient, right? How to bounce back from things, how to adapt to the changes. People who have businesses out there got to learn how maybe everything was in person and can't do that. So how do you do it virtually now? Students, you're having to adapt, right, to how you learn in the classrooms. Teachers are having to adapt to how to teach the students. So it's teaching us a lot in 2020. And I think that, yes, a lot of negatives have gone wrong because of this, but we definitely have to focus on a lot of the positives and a lot of the outcomes and opportunities that are available because of COVID happening to us. So we talked a lot today about, just everything, right? Life and decisions and things that impact you and having a voice. But I want to give the audience obviously more takeaways, right? Um, so I would like each of you to share, like, how can we help you in your mission to use your voice or to make a difference in the world? What can adults or other peers or people listening today do to help teens?
I'd say the biggest thing is just to listen to us. Just listen, just listen to us and just know that our voices matter, our opinions matter, and that our emotions are valid. Just give us that reassurance that you're out there and you're listening to us and you're making the active decision to include us in the choices that you make for our lives. And that's one of the biggest things any adult can do, any parent can do. And if we can start with just one parent in one household, that'll be enough and just spread from there.
I hate being a twin. He takes every word that I'm about to say out of my head. Listening to us, that was powerful because that's what I was gonna say. But also taking action. One thing I was talking to Miss T about, the generations before us, they feel like once a new generation grows up, they feel like, all right, my job's done. No, we're still fighting the same fight you were fighting. Fight with us. Keep going with us. Don't stop. If you see your baby struggling to get change and fighting for their lives, the same lives that you fought for, keep going. Don't stop just because I understand you're tired. I understand you guys fought, but now we need guidance as well. You guys didn't have guidance, and you guys understand the struggle of that. So give us the guidance that we need. We have to learn and do better each cycle that comes up, each generation. We got to take what the bad and make it better.
I feel like while you're listening to us, don't think we're trying to argue with you. We're trying to educate you. And by you trying to, like, say I'm telling you my views, you think just because they may not be the same as yours, that I'm trying to argue or I'm trying to disrespect you. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to explain and trying to let you know what we're feeling, what we're going through. And so don't think we're trying to argue. So yes, listen to us, but really hear us.
We're not trying to argue. We're just trying to light debates. We like.
Yes, definitely. So it's just, I remember posting something about it is in basic communication, you have to listen to understand first instead of just listen to respond, right? You hear something and then you just start talking back or ruling it out or thinking that it's not important or what you have to say doesn't matter. And what we learned today is that your voice definitely matters and we have to listen to you. And whether we like it or not, you're going to be our future doctors, our lawyers, our police officers, our president of the United States, all these different things. And we have to listen to you because one day you're going to be leading us in this world. So that's very, very important. All right. So we spoke to the adults and said what you guys need from them. So what about the teens? What can the teens who are listening, what can they do to make a difference? What do you encourage them to do going forward after today?
What we're doing. Replace us. Do exactly what you can do to be the change that you see. Just use social media to your advantage. If you get some information that you don't know that if anybody else has, post about it, talk about it, share your opinion. Just one small voice can make a huge reaction.
My advice would be don't be afraid or like we were talking about before as the acceptance. If you have a vision, if you know you have a purpose, speak on it. Act on it. Don't be afraid like, "Oh, that's not what's popular right now, so let me just sit back." No, make it popular. Change Nothing's going to change if we are all concerned about what he's thinking about me or what she's thinking about me. You have to learn to stand above that and don't let them bring you down.
I feel like we all well, not all of us, but like a lot of people forgot about the golden rule. Do unto others as you want unto yourself. If you see somebody getting made fun of, or you see somebody getting picked on or discriminated against, stand up for them. Even if that's not your battle, if that's not something that you're going with, that's now your battle to pick because you're witnessing that. You're being a bystander if you just don't do anything or oh, I don't want them to pick on me, so I'm gonna sit back. But two voices are stronger than that one person picking on them. Two people standing up against that one bully or that one oppressor is going to squabble that whole thing. Use your voice. Stand up for one another. Stand up for yourself. Standing up for yourself is very important. If you see somebody, like somebody's talking to you, talking down on yourself, you know that you're smarter than what they're saying. Don't react so quickly, but take what they're saying and then just counter that. I can't really give you a definition what to say, but just don't, I'm bigger than that. Don't believe on what they're saying. Stand up for yourself. Let them know that you are bigger than what the words that they're saying and making you seem to be.
I like that. I like the golden rule. And I got to have a teaching moment here. And there's also the platinum rule. And that actually is treat people how they want to be treated. Because I think in many times we say, oh, we want people to treat each other how, we want to be treated. But maybe I want to be treated differently than how you want to be treated, right? Some people want to be comforted. Some people want to be left alone. Some people want to be helped or they need a voice. So it's important for communication to find out how does this person want us to help them, right? And I think that's what we got to continue to ask those questions about. How does this make you feel? And how can I help you in that, right? Because different situations make people feel differently and different people need different types of help. So definitely continue to just speak with each other, communicate with people who are different than you, who were brought up different than you, who look different than you, and talk to them and figure out how they want to be treated and how they need help to move forward in their lives. All right, so the last question that we have for you actually is what's one last word of advice or one thing that you want to leave the audience with today?
Just keep going. No matter what goes on, no matter what you see or what you hear, just keep going. I understand it can be discouraging sometimes. I understand that you may get caught up in your own mind and you see all this going on. just keep going, even if it's a little bit. Talk, speak your message, speak your mind. Change somebody else's life for one day. Like Brooklyn said earlier, if I can just change one person for the better, if I can just express peace and positivity onto one person, change their perspective, do that.
And this is like for the adults. If you can leave anything, if you can leave with anything today, it would just be a new perspective on how we feel and how we think and how we want our world to be. We want to have a better world for our kids one day. And so just take what we're saying and just kind of just reflect on it and just think about, okay, if I have kids, if you have kids out there, and just like know that their feelings are valid and their emotions are valid and that you hear them. They're not trying to be rude when they're expressing themselves unless they start, cussing and stuff like that. But like when they're respectfully like just talking, they're not arguing. They're just like debating their emotions. So just listen to them.
So I have two things. One, know you're not alone. You're not alone in this fight. You have people that care about you and that are going to stand by you and support you. So never feel like you're alone. There's so many different resources out there that you could contact if you need help or just anything. And then the second one is advocate for yourself. If you see a change advocate for yourself and others. Like, you have to speak and act on it or nothing's going to change. Don't just sit there and think, oh, I should do that because it's going to do this. But if you never act on it or speak on it or do anything to reach that goal, nothing's ever going to happen. So advocate for yourself. Speak about stuff. Take action.
All right, so thank you so much. And our listeners, they are actually hearing everything that you got to say, and we're getting great feedback already. And one thing that they wanted was for each of you to go one by one and kind of give a short bio of yourself and tell them about yourself.
My name is Tyrell Daniels. I'm lead ambassador for YWP. That stands for Youth World Education Project. Just a little bit about me. I love to help people. That's who I am. If I see somebody struggling, I'm right there. I like to help people firsthand. Questions later. I don't know. Growing up, I just want to be a political activist, a social activist, changing anything that I can. I really like the small changes to making big reactions. Started with the small things. I like to just be very active within the community because we need more people like that. And if I can change one person's life for the better, great. Because growing up, I didn't know how to be a leader. I know I always wanted to be a leader. I know I always wanted to use my voice for positivity, and I know I always wanted to use my voice for big change, but I just didn't know how to. And so now that I'm involved with YWP, it allowed me to have a platform to teach others, hey, this is out here for you. This is what you can do. Join this organization. Join this movement so it can help you. Because I know there's more people out there that was feeling the same things I'm feeling.
So I'm Brooklyn Gomez, and I was very fortunate to grow up in like a very supportive family, and they really pushed me to become who I am today. So I have my own club at my school, and it's a women empowerment club. And so I live for that. I live for empowering young women and just giving them the tools they need and just giving them a community to thrive in, because a lot of times, like even in high school, it's very harsh, all this societal norms that girls have to transform into and be, and it could really bring you down. And so that's how I use my voice, is really advocating for others, and not even just for women, for everybody. Like, I just feel like we need to all come together, and so that's how I really use my voice. And I feel like that's a big part of who I am and who I will become because I have that foundation.
My name is Tariq. Kind of what he was saying, I have a strong passion for social activism and political activism. But growing up, I didn't really want to be in that field. I just wanted to like go with the flow. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to do like normal kid stuff. I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to do this, do that. But as I got older, I admired the leaders that were in my family. I admired being in like the church and the strong people, like the deacons, the pastors, and stuff like that. And so kind of pushed me to come out of my shell. I had like speaking issues. Like this is a big thing for me because I like to write. I like to do poems and stuff like that and spoken word because I wrote those words. Speaking from the heart has always been like hard for me, but coming out of my shell is something that's been a breakthrough, and like I want to keep on pushing past that. I want to keep on improving my speaking skills, and I'm glad that Miss T has given me the opportunity to do that and just become myself and be my true self and keep on developing.
I have a question for Mona.
Oh, put me on the spot. This wasn't a part of the script. What are you talking about? Go ahead.
Cause earlier Miss T gave me a question. She said, "What would you like to see? What would give you hope for the future?" And that kind of stumbled me. And so now every time I get a chance, I like to ask people that question. It's like, what would you like to see that will give you hope for the future? What would you like to see happen that will give you hope for the future?
You all, to be honest, that's exactly why I work with teens, because I strongly believe that you are our future, right? We have to depend on you. I know you talk about how you can't teach old dogs new tricks, but we can. We can inspire them. And you talked about how young people are the most influential and that we can learn from you and that you can make a difference in the world. And that's what inspires me to work with teens, because I know that if I can impact one of your lives or impact the teens all over the country, and when I speak to them, if I can impact them for the better and teach them to be great citizens and kind people and people who are willing to go out there and make a change in the world, if I can encourage that and push that, the better off our country is going to be. So that's what gives me hope, honestly, is young people. That's why I agreed to be here with you all today, because I believe in you and you inspire me. You remind me of myself when I was young and just wanting to get my voice out there and really want to make a difference. But I strongly just believe in the youth, because I feel like more and more youth aren't seeing, they see color, because I feel like that's important. We must say that we got to see color and accept it for what it is, but you don't act on that color, right? You're not treating people differently because of the color of their skin. And I think that more and more kids are naturally not having that, right? Or they're more and more standing up to say this isn't right, even though their generations above them are telling them that no, feeding all this negative stuff into them. The young people are starting to be rebellious in a positive way and fight back and say, no, this is wrong. We got to love each other. We got to be kind to each other. So that's what I love about young people. And I feel like that's the only way the world is going to change, is through all of you, and break those generational curses like you guys were talking about before, because a lot of this hate and stuff is passed down. You're not born with that, right? So that's what gives me hope for the future. And just a little bit about me, so everyone knows, is I didn't always be this speaker and things like that. I was actually homeless for half my life, but I wanted to be something, and I wanted to be someone. And the Boys and Girls Club for me helped me become that. It helped me learn how to use my voice and share my story of overcoming obstacles and struggles. And through my voice, I'm able to inspire other people, young, old, black, white, rich, poor, to make a difference in the world and to not put stereotypes on people, right? That's what they look like, where they came from, what the color of their skin is, any of those things, because we all have potential. We all have a gift that we have to share with the world. We all need help at one point in our lives, and we all have to, love each other and move forward. And that's how we're going to make a difference in the world, by coming together rather than consistently being torn apart. So that's my goal in the world, is to just bring joy, bring hope, bring love, and bring change for the better, so that we can go forward. But I just want to say how grateful It has been to be on this panel with you all today and to moderate and to hear from your voices, because it was just so powerful. You guys are so young, but you dropped so much knowledge for everybody here today, for the teens, for the adults. And I just want to say to everybody listening, like, don't let all of this knowledge and what they said today go to waste. Don't just listen to it and then just let it go. No, internalize that and take that in as well, because this is what's going to make a difference. And it's these conversations, it's you listening to them. Like today, you didn't have a choice to like talk back or shut them up. But you know, in the future, don't do that. Listen to this, because it was very positive, and it's going to change the world, and they are going to change the world, and our youth is going to change the world. So I just want to thank you, Tyreek, Tyrell, Brooklyn, for joining me today in this panel. And once again, I'm Mona Dixon, and I just want to head this over and lead it back over to Dwayne. And thank you, Tara, for putting this on with the Youth World Education Project, and continuing to give youth a voice. So thank you. Oh, well, we're giving it to her. Sorry, everybody. I love you.
Am I good? Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and listening to our youth. They are our future. But like anything, it's not just about talk, it is the action. And we have our call to action, which is make sure that you are registered to vote, but actually vote. Make sure you complete the census, because the census determines the dollars that go into your community. So when you look in your community and you say, oh, we don't have this, we don't have the resources, partially it's because people aren't completing the census. And also, educate your children on their history. Black history is something, unfortunately, that is not truly taught in the education system, but again, everything starts at home. So it is your duty to make sure that your children know their history, not depend on other people to educate them. And our last call to action would be support the organizations in your community. This Urban Experience Town Hall series, it's a 3-part series. There's a pre-launch to the Urban Experience 2K20 conference. But this couldn't happen without a community effort. The Salvation Army Kroc Center allowed us to come into their space just because they wanted to be a part of the movement, not just talk about the movement. There's too much talk, we need more action. Another organization that we are partnered with on the Urban Experience forums is Maricopa County Community Colleges. They have been very impactful in every piece from the Town Hall series all the way up leading to the Urban Experience Conference that will be October 17th. These young people spoke their truth, but are you listening? And are you hearing the words that are coming out of their mouth? Because the next step has to be action. There's too many conversations and not enough people doing the work. So get involved in your community, find your cause, but understand that we as Black people, we have to move. No more talk. We need to move. It is time for action. So we pray and hope that you join this movement. The forums are not events. These are movements with action in the end. So look out for our upcoming series. We have September 26th, Dr. Joy DeGruy, who is the author of Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, a discussion with her. And then on October 3rd, we have Across the Decades. We have another amazing panel of adults, but intergenerational communication is key, especially right now. And our panelist here, Tyrell, will actually be moderating that. So out of the mouths of babes, you will hear. So we thank you again for just joining in and for just supporting this movement. And we are Youth World Education Project, and this is the Urban Experience 2K20 Town Hall Series Part 1, Youth Speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys.